Hi everyone, Michael from Bullion Now, bullionnow.com.au. So what a crazy week in bullion it's been. And for a change, I'm not so much talking about spot price movement or the number of people queued up out the door, down the elevator and out on the street trying to get into Bullion Now to either buy or sell. It's been a crazy week in the media and for the economy as well in Australia, but particularly for bullion around the world. So get the easy one out the way. Reserve Bank released this week that the interest rates were dropping 25 basis points, so 0.25%. So everyone with a mortgage is going, yay. Everyone that's retired is going, come on, man. But the interesting thing was they flagged that the inflation rate was not where they expected it to be, and they're a little bit worried about the economy. And then good old mainstream media bounces back the next day and says, oh no, that's all a mistake. No, it's all sunshine and roses out there. So it'll be interesting to see how that little tug of war plays out over the next few months. But probably from a stacker's perspective, it was more interesting to see the announcement on tariffs. Now, we touched on this on live stream last Friday. That's the 2:30 live stream on Fridays, where there was the mainstream media had just started picking up on this this report that someone had requested a clarification on a tariff code with the Border Force. It's not called that, it's called Customs and Border Control in the US. And the comment had come back that the kilos and 100-ounce bars of gold would now incur a tariff going into the US. Now, as I kind of flagged at the time, I was a little bit suspicious of this one because A, 100-ounce gold bars aren't really a thing, and B, just to place a tariff on kilo bars, while obviously a lot of kilo bars are imported into the US, just to target that one is a little bit odd because all of a sudden you'd see the 950 gram bar coming out just so they could avoid tariffs. So it seemed a funny way to do it. And we kind of flagged that, and Alex Rubin and I talked about it. But the mainstream media, and it was a great example of how basically the mainstream media is an echo chamber. One will say, we'll grab hold of something and make a comment, and then everyone else in mainstream media. And funnily enough, even in what I would not consider to be the mainstream bullion media, jumped on it and started making all these comments about how terrible it was, and they're going to be tariffing kilo bars into the US, and this is the end of the world, and all this sort of stuff, without actually scratching their heads going, this really doesn't make sense. And it was interesting when the mainstream media finally got to President Trump and said, oh, you're going to tariff this, and he's gone, no, we'll review it, but that doesn't sound right. So, and yes, I'm massively paraphrasing what he said, but effectively it was like a throwaway, don't be ridiculous, as if we're going to do that. So that all seems to have died a natural death. But at the same time, again, it was a fascinating study into the mainstream media with Perth Mint again. So Perth Mint has been accused is too strong a word. And I need to play a little bit carefully with this one because it's one of our main local refiners in Australia. But the question was asked because Perth Mint exports gold suspended in acid to India. Now it's processed, it's used for industrial purposes, but in India, gold bullion incurs a 6% import tariff. However, if it's gold in suspension used for industrial purposes, it does not incur that tariff. So the accusation towards Perth Mint was, you're just doing this to dodge around tariffs. And it clearly isn't. Perth Mint has had a contract with this company, has been dealing with this company for several years, has checked them out. The company is properly registered both within India and internationally. So with the LBMA, all the major metals places as a industrial user of gold. So Perth Mint's had this contract, they've been supplying it for quite a while, and all of a sudden somebody in the mainstream media has read a report, picked up an article, been given an anonymous phone call, whatever it is, and gone, this is big news. Perth Mint's complicit in, they're inferring, they don't say it directly, but they're inferring that Perth Mint may be complicit in this tariff dodging. And then the article goes on to say, Perth Mint's history. Instead of focusing on a lot of the positives of the Perth Mint, they've then gone out and tried to do a hatchet job on them. They were accused of supplying contaminated gold to China. Well, we've already covered this so many times, and it's absolute garbage. And then they went on to talk about the Austrac investigation that happened over there, or the Austrac audit, and implying that there was something there rather than, I think it was 2 weeks beforehand, where Austrac had said, actually, we're really happy with Perth Mint's act. So it's been this fascinating study of things that have happened within the bullion industry. We don't usually have so many dynamic things happen within the industry all at once, but it was fascinating to watch one almost grain of truth, like there's a little bit of truth in it, but not much. And then one report in mainstream media, and then watching the rest of mainstream media pile on top and make some fairly outlandish claims, but also a study in how even some of the bullion media jumped in on it and were ready to tear people apart, or tear companies apart, or reputations apart. And that's not a good thing. So ultimately what I'm leading with this is absolutely pay attention to mainstream media. It's a good starting source for information. This is what's happening. This has happened. This has occurred. But don't take it at face value. Even if you agree or disagree with what they're saying, dig a little deeper. It's always good to be challenged in your beliefs, but dig a little deeper. Why are they saying that? What's caused it? And I said on the live stream, I've traced it back to this report, but we can't find a copy of the report. So I'm a bit sus on this tariff thing, because no one's actually got a copy of it. They're all just saying, the Financial Times said this, or the such and such said that, or the such and such said that. They're all just referring to other mainstream media organisations. So don't ever take things at face value, no matter who's saying it. Whether we say it, whether a mainstream media says it, or one or the other in the bullion area, or pretty much anywhere. Listen to what they say, but then scratch that little bit deeper and say, where's this information coming from? What biases are in place there? Are they just trying to sell more papers? Are they trying to stir trouble? Are they a competitor? Are they trying to sell the product? All these types of things. Just keep your wits about you and have fun with it. We'll talk again soon.